How to be a pro parent. Now, I'm not saying I'm a pro in every category, but the other day I handled a situation that was kind of top notch, and I wanted to share it with you guys and break it down because I think it'll help. And hopefully, the next time you find yourself in a similar situation, you'll be able to handle that situation much differently than you ever were in the past. So not too long ago, I had my boy. He was spending the night, and the next day was his birthday. But we decided to celebrate his birthday that day. So I took him laser tagging. We did 3 games back to back. Then we came home. He got his new bike. We went for a bike ride. Then we ended up going to a Indian smorgasbord, having a big dinner. He had some ice cream, and then by the time we got home, it was quite late. And then he had some cake. It was quite late, and he was saying to me, he's like, can I stay up a little bit later for my birthday now that I'm older? And I was just like, okay, it's Saturday, spend the night, you're sleeping over, you can sleep in, right? So 11 o'clock rolls around. I'm like, okay, buddy, it's bedtime. And I guess this didn't sit well with him. And my boy is usually a very well behaved child. I couldn't be more proud of him. But we had such a long day, and usually I'm quite strict with the sugar intake that I give my child and don't feed him pop or fast food. However, because it was his birthday, I got him some organic licorices. And then when we went to the Indian buffet, he had some ice cream, and then he had cake later, right? So I was aware that he had a high sugar intake that day, and it was a long day playing like Savannah Life or Grow Garden, right? And 11 o'clock rolls around, and I'm like, hey, buddy, it's time to go to bed, right? And I guess this didn't sit well with him, and he had such a long day, and he had such a high sugar intake that he kind of had a bit of a meltdown, saying he should be able to stay up longer. And it felt in the moment over exaggerated. Tears are coming down, this and that. And he started saying how he wasn't going to go to bed, and he still wanted to play his games. And this led to a bit of a meltdown, and ended up with him laying in the corner crying. And I just stood there calm, and I thought to myself, I was like, long day, it's super late, way past his bedtime. He's got a higher level of sugar than he's used to, at least at my place. And so I knew that this meltdown was caused from those things, so I didn't get upset. Instead, as he's crying, saying he's not going to bed, I just sat there rubbing his back. And the interesting thing that happened is, as I was doing that, and my son's like crying out loud, right? I realized that all of that emotion coming out wasn't just from that situation and the long day and the sugar intake. It was all the frustration pent it up, the stress that kids feel from school and just life in general. And so I sat there, and this went on for like 20 minutes, and all I did was just rub his back and gave him space to let it all out. And eventually we got upstairs, and I went to bed with him, and he rolled over and gave me a big hug and said, I love you, Dad. And it was just because I never got mad, never got angry. I just gave him the space to let it out, because sometimes kids build up emotions and don't know how to deal with it. And that's the sense I was getting when I was rubbing his back, was that he was just releasing excess pent up energy. So the next time you have your kid has a meltdown, just know that sometimes it's not necessarily the situation at hand, and there's usually more to it. And you're the adult, so it's up to you to act like it and not get worked up when they do.